It begins with a knife, not a sword, not a blade meant for an enemy. A small knife, sharpened for a child. They did it in spring, sometimes early summer. Never in the heat, never in the cold. A wound this deep had to be given its best chance not to rot. One stroke. The knife took everything at once. 6 pieces of silver, paid to the man who held it. The boy on the chair was not a prisoner. His own family had brought him. A father buried in debt. A son worth more cut than whole. Across 2,000 years, the reasons barely changed. Poverty, pressure. And the oldest debate of all, the rumor that a boy who surrendered his body might one day stand closer to the throne than any lord alive. Because behind those walls sat a single man whose word was law, and the only people allowed near his body, day and night, sleeping and waking, were the men who had been cut. A handful of them used that closeness to take an empire. They forged the emperor's commands. They set rulers on the throne and pulled them off it. Slaves who became the most feared men in China. That is the story you were promised. It is not the story most of them got. For almost every boy on that chair, the throne stayed a rumor. What waited was a lifetime of service in a world that despised them, and a small sealed jar kept close for the rest of their lives, holding the part of themselves they had given up, so that one day they could be buried whole. One man cut himself, hoping to buy his way in. He did it badly. No palace would take him. He had paid the whole price and received nothing at all. Almost everything written about these men was written by their enemies, the scholars they elbowed aside to reach the emperor's ear. We inherited that verdict, and we called it history. Strip the verdict away, and what's left is colder, simpler, a wager, a body staked against power. Most of them lost. To understand these men, start by forgetting they were rare. At its height, the palace held 2,000 to 3,000 of them, sorted into ranks, divided into dozens of classes, an entire machine of cut men running the household of a living god. And the emperor was not the only one who kept them. His sons kept them. His sons-in-law kept them. 4, 10, 30 apiece. The boy on the chair had not bought his way into a secret. He had joined an institution older than most of the nations alive today. But the institution took something before it gave anything back. In a world built on family, on sons, on the unbroken line running back to the first ancestor, the cut man was a line that stopped. He could not stand at the family altar. By custom, he could not even be buried with his parents, nor with the sons he would one day adopt. He had stepped outside of time. No descendants to tend his grave, no ancestors who would own him. The records say such a man often came to hate the parents who had done this to him. Many did. Many never spoke to their families again. He gave up his body at the gate. Inside, he would slowly give up everything that body had tied him to. And this, the disgrace, the severance, the ruin of him, was the entire point. The emperor's power rested on one fragile thing, the certainty of his bloodline. Every man kept away from his women was one more guarantee that the next emperor was truly his. So the inner court was sealed. Ministers stopped at a wall. Princes stopped at a wall. Generals who could topple a province were walked out of the palace before dark. Only one kind of man was allowed to cross the final threshold and stand in the dark beside the sleeping emperor, the one who had been cut, the one who could threaten nothing. His ruin was his clearance. The lower he had fallen, the closer they let him in. Now hold both of those truths at once. A man erased from his own family line, standing nearer to absolute power than any lord in the empire. What does a man do with that? He rebuilds the one thing that was taken from him. They took wives. They adopted sons. They raised heirs, trained successors, and ordered tombs grand enough to be remembered by. Historians have a name for it. Eunuch dynasticism, the forging of a family by men forbidden to have one. And it was not always a hollow gesture. One household, a palace eunuch had built by adoption, produced a grandson named Zhao Gao, who set his own son on the road to found a dynasty. The men with no future learn to manufacture one. There is a problem with everything I have just told you. We did not hear it from the eunuchs. Almost every word written about these men was written by their enemies, the scholars and officials who spent their careers fighting the cut men for the emperor's ear, and losing. When those scholars finally took up the brush to write the history, the eunuch became what he still is in the record today: the schemer, the parasite, the rot at the center of the throne. Strip that verdict away, and a colder question is left standing. What happens when a man with nothing to inherit and nothing left to lose is handed the keys to the one body that rules the world? A few of them found out. And the very first time it happened, at the dawn of the empire itself, beside the concealed corpse of the man who built it, one cut servant would show exactly how far the disgrace could reach. He would make the most powerful men in China call a deer a horse, and dare them to disagree. The animal in the room was a deer. Every man there could see it was a deer. The official holding the rope called it a horse and asked the court to agree. Some stayed silent, some carefully agreed. A horse. Yes, a fine horse. A few made the mistake of telling the truth. They were the ones he was looking for. Within months, the men who had said deer were dead. To understand how one palace servant could stand in a throne room and overrule the eyes of every man in it, go back 3 years to a road and a corpse. In the summer of 210 BC, the first emperor of China was dying. He had swallowed 6 rival kingdoms and forged them into a single empire. One script, one road network, one law. He intended to live forever and was hunting the drug that would let him. Instead, on the road, far from his capital, he died, and the only people who knew were the handful of men traveling closest to his body. One of them kept the imperial carriages, a specialist in law, tutor to the emperor's youngest son. His name was Zhao Gao. Every message to the emperor and every order from him passed through Zhao Gao's hands. So no order went out. The death stayed sealed, carried in silence along the road home. It was high summer. The body began to turn. To bury the smell, they set a cart of salted fish beside the imperial carriage. The master of the world rode home to his tomb behind a wall of rotting fish, while a servant decided who would inherit the earth. The emperor had left one last command: a sealed letter naming his eldest son, Fusu, as heir. Fusu was everything Zhao Gao could not survive: principled, his own man, exiled to the northern frontier for objecting to his father's cruelties, and guarded there by a general loyal to him. If Fusu took the throne, the carriage keeper was a dead man. So Zhao Gao did the most audacious thing available to a man holding the emperor's seal. He changed the letter. He drew the chief minister, Li Si, into the plot. Together, they destroyed the will and wrote a new one. It named the youngest son, Hu Hai, Zhao Gao's own pupil, as emperor, and it ordered Fusu to take his own life. Fusu's general begged him to demand proof, to question the order. Fusu didn't. Whether he could not imagine anyone daring to forge his father's word, or simply understood he was already finished, he obeyed. The rightful emperor of China killed himself on the strength of a forged sheet of paper. A servant had chosen the master. That was not the end of Zhao Gao's appetite. It was the start. The boy emperor was his creature. Through Huhai, Zhao Gao ran the empire. And Li Si, his partner in the forgery, became the only man who could expose him. So Zhao Gao removed him. Li Si died the way the savage legal code he himself had helped build killed traitors. Mutilated, then cut in two at the waist, in the public market. His family destroyed to the third generation. Then Zhao Gao took the dead minister's office for himself and brought a deer into the throne room. The deer was never about the animal. It was a measurement. He was proving that his word now outranked the evidence of every eye in the hall, that inside this palace, reality was whatever he declared it to be. The men who failed the test were marked. A servant of the inner palace now held an empire by the throat. It could not hold, and he knew it. The provinces were in open revolt. Armies were closing on the capital. Fearing the blame, Zhao Gao turned on the emperor he had made, and forced Huhai, too, to kill himself. He set a new puppet on the throne, a man named Ziying. Ziying learned, faster than the rest, the lesson the whole court had been teaching. Never trust the servant who chooses the master. Within days, Ziying had Zhao Gao killed, and his family wiped out, exactly as Zhao Gao had done to Li Si. Weeks later, the dynasty itself was gone. The first emperor had decreed his line would rule for 10,000 generations. It outlived him by 3 years. That is the story China told about Zhao Gao for 2,000 years. The founding legend of the evil eunuch. The mold for every palace villain who followed. Modern scholarship has a problem with almost all of it. Start with the sharpest doubt, the one that should stop this whole series in its tracks. Zhao Gao may not have been a eunuch at all. The histories tag him with a word later read as castrated. But in the legal language of his own century, dug out of tombs only in the last few decades, that word meant something wider. A servant of the inner court. Not necessarily a cut man. And Zhao Gao had a daughter. She was married. He had a son-in-law. The most famous man who ever traded his manhood for power may never have made the trade. Then the larger doubt. In 2015, scholars published a manuscript buried in the Han dynasty that tells the succession a different way. In it, there is no forgery. The dying first emperor, on his minister's advice, simply chooses Huhai, names him freely, and if that account is Rodai, the founding crime of the eunuch villain, the stolen throne, the forged will, never happened. It would mean the archetype was not born from a crime. It was born from a story, set down generations later by the kind of men who had every reason to make the servant the monster. We cannot prove which version is true. That is exactly the point. Everything still to come, every eunuch who seized a court, every dynasty said to have rotted from its center, reaches us through one narrow channel. The brush of the scholar, the enemy of the eunuch. Hold on to that, because the next time it happened, there would be no doubt at all about the bodies.